Forget Hogwarts! Rome's origin story boasts a blend of magic, murder, and a she-wolf playing the ultimate foster mom. Think being raised by wizards is dark? Try surviving infancy with a wolf as your wet nurse and a cave for a crib. The classic myth goes, twin brothers Romulus and Remus, born to a princess and a war god, nepotism level divine, get tossed into the Tiber River by a jealous usurper king. Instead of a tragic swim, they float to fame, rescued by a she-wolf who, with questionable feeding practices but undeniable maternal instincts, raises them in the Lupercal cave. Forget Similac! Wolf's milk was empire-building fuel before it was cool! Not FDA approved, but who needs calcium when you've got legend? Myth! Thanks to that wolf's milk, the twins turn into invincible tough cookies, becoming poster kids for resilience and wild beginnings. Like all great siblings, Romulus and Remus decide to team up and build a city. But sharing's not their thing, they bicker over where to put it. Because if sharing toys at home is hard, try sharing real estate that shapes civilization. Fact, the feud turns lethal. Romulus scores the ultimate dibs by killing Remus, then names the city after himself. Rome, the place where your founding father doubles as your brother's assassin. Now that's family values. Punch. This origin story gave Rome the ultimate PR stunt in antiquity. Nothing says rising superpower like a tale packed with animal husbandry and fratricide. Bridge. Modern historians, party poopers all, suspect the she-wolf angle is a later edit. Rome's version of Instagram filters. Just add drama for instant legend. Because some myths are too wild not to embellish. From the legendary founding of Rome to its brutal public spectacles, the city's history is rich with dramatic tales. Hook. Picture Russell Crowe battling through Rome. Every fight a crimson spectacle. Historical truth or just Oscar bait? Let's slice through the hype and uncover what really went down in those sand and sandal throwdowns. Thanks to blockbuster films and last-minute costume shops, the common belief is that gladiators strolled into the arena with a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Win or lose, fame was posthumous, and that was the final curtain call. Dramatic? Absolutely. Practical? Not so much. Facts. Historians grin at the idea of the Colosseum as a non-stop slaughterhouse. Most matches didn't end in death, but with battered egos and maybe a stylish new scar. Why? Gladiators were pricey assets. Think less throwaway paper towel, more blood-stained blue-chip investment. Training these warriors sucked up years and enough coins to make a Roman senator weep. Killing off your top performers every fight. That's like Netflix canceling your favorite show episode 1. It just doesn't add up. Sure, the crowd reveled in bloodshed now and then, and accidents happened, but most bouts wrapped up when one fighter yielded or was clearly outmatched. No need for funeral arrangements on the spot. But Rome wanted drama and flair, not a body count. The goal was suspense, spectacle, and maybe just a classy splash of gore, not a gladiator morgue. Bridge. The stats don't lie. Some gladiators survive dozens of bouts, eventually retiring to coach or become Rome's version of sports pundits, sans espresso and Wi-Fi. Even back then, employee retention was a big deal. So next time you binge a gladiator flick, remember, the real fiction isn't the CGI tigers. It's the myth of zero job security. While gladiators fought fiercely to the death, the empire was also marked by the eccentric and infamous rule of Emperor Caligula. If you think modern politicians are out of trot, just wait till you hear about Caligula's four-legged senator. Yes, legend has it, Emperor Caligula tried to make his horse Incitatus a full-fledged member of the Roman Senate. Considering today's headlines, maybe it's not so far-fetched. After all, who wouldn't rally behind a campaign slogan like, "Hey for all, nay to corruption"? This tall tale gallops straight out of ancient sources. Suetonius and Cassius Dio lead the charge. They paint Caligula as a man utterly off his rocker, prone to cruel theatrics and, apparently, a believer in equine-led governance. Incitatus wasn't just any horse. He allegedly enjoyed a marble stable, personal servants, and the political clout to neigh over tax reform. If horses ever voted, just imagine the fiery debates over free oats versus subsidized apples. But don't start picturing the Senate chamber packed with ponies just yet. No ancient text confirms that Incitatus ever donned a toga to debate grain prices. Historians suspect these facts smell more like satire than stable manure. Caligula was probably trolling the elitist Romans, equating them with his beloved nag, a prank more than a political procedure. Roman emperors certainly had flair and a penchant for drama, but Caligula's madness is likely the work of sharp-tongued biographers with grudges and a flair for gossip. Incitatus's resume reads more like satire than a CV. On the bright side, the horse probably had fewer skeletons in his closet than most senators, though certainly more hooves under the table. Caligula's madness is just one aspect of Roman excess, seen in their elaborate feasting customs that included so-called vomitoriums, ancient Roman parties where eat, puke, repeat was supposedly the peak of sophistication. Picture patricians swathed in togas, circling endless platters of dormice and honey cake, pausing only to make a courteous detour to the vomitorium between courses. According to certain cocktail party legends, these binge fests transformed a casual burp into a high art form. Modern retellings make it sound like the Romans invented the all-you-can-eat buffet, with a tactical relief station conveniently attached. But hold your horses and your stomach. The term vomitorium isn't about Roman indigestion. It's all about Latin logic. Built from vomere, meaning to spew forth. Plot twist. This refers to people, not pasta. Actual vomitoria were cleverly designed passageways in amphitheaters that could eject thousands of sandaled spectators in minutes. In other words, ancient Rome's crowd control superhighways, not bodily function lounges. So why the widespread and graphic confusion? Blame 19th century writers who couldn't resist dressing history up with a dash of flair. Splashy misinterpretations that stuck like garum on a toga. Sure, Romans indulged. Banquets weren't exactly Instagram light, but publicly praying to the porcelain sphinx was decidedly unfashionable. Even Caligula had limits. Barfing after peacock tongues was more gauche than gourmet. The modern equivalent, think snobbish stadium exits, not stadium bathrooms, unless your team just fumbled into eternity. If vomitoria were puke rooms, ancient Rome would have been a test site for acid reflux meds. Imagine ancient Yelp. Great show, but smelled strongly of regurgitated peacock. 2 out of 5 stars! Be thankful the Romans engineered crowd flows, not after-dinner mints. Because honestly, who wants a mint served with a side of marble floor cleaner? These extravagant parties contrasted with the everyday attire of Romans, who donned their togas regularly. Picture a bustling Roman market where every citizen struts around in immaculate spirals of toga, a toga party that never packs up. Or so the movies have us believe. Hollywood's Rome looks less like an empire and more like a citywide slumber party, with everyone permanently swaddled in what seems to be Caesar's spare bedsheet. Ah, the classic image. Romans, forever cloaked in toga, conducting business with the solemnity of prom chaperones and the wardrobe of tipsy Saturnalia revelers. But let's adjust the lens. The toga was Rome's formal wear, a sartorial shout reserved for courtroom drama, public performances, and old-school displays of gravitas. Think tuxedo, not tank top. Most days, Romans kept it simple, with tunics. Easy, breathable, and, critically, unlikely to send you face first into your morning porridge. Togas weren't just impractical, they were origami with an attitude problem, demanding delicate folds and strategic clutching to avoid accidental public peep shows. Only freeborn male citizens earned the dubious honor of wrestling these togasauruses. Women, children, and slaves sat out the toga Olympics, showing up at the fish market in a full toga. Instant side eyes, or worse, snickers. Like rocking up to your corner store in a silk ball gown. Even senators probably breathed a sigh of relief, swapping ceremonial folds for the snug freedom of a roomy tunic after a long day. So no, ancient Rome wasn't a 24/7 toga parade. If it had been, the city would have needed an army just to tackle laundry day, and maybe another just to untangle citizens from their own outfits. Now about those laurel wreaths. As Romans wore their traditional clothing, The empire was also marred by notorious figures like Nero, remembered for his indifference during calamity. Picture this: flaming chaos, panicked Romans, and, wait for it, a toga-clad emperor shredding a violin solo as Rome burned to a crisp. Sounds like drama worthy of Netflix, right? Enter Nero, history's most notorious remote control arsonist, forever infamous for fiddling while Rome burned in 64 CE. Except, record scratch, violins wouldn't exist for another 1,500 years. So unless Nero moonlighted as a time-traveling Baroque rock star, his crime was less Vivaldi gone rogue and more ancient liar. His musical repertoire, some seriously killer lyre jams, not a single violin riff in sight. So if you imagine him mid-fiddle solo, congratulations! You've just invented the world's first historical remix. Here's the reality check. Nero wasn't even in Rome when the fire kicked off. He was lounging at his villa miles away, then hustled back when the city started sizzling. He actually pitched in with relief efforts, food, shelters, disaster management, the whole emergency emperor get up. Yet somehow, his major crime wasn't arson, but the worst musical miscrediting in history. Why the villain origin story? Ancient historians like Tacitus and Suetonius had axes the size of lyres to grind. Political rivalries, personal grudges, plus Nero's penchant for rebuilding Rome in his own flashy style all fueled the blame game. If only he'd picked up the loot, maybe his PR team could have struck a better chord. But really, who can resist a story this juicy? Sometimes facts just can't compete with a toga, a fiddle, and a city engulfed in flames. Despite Nero's infamous acts, the infrastructure of Rome, including its famous roads, was a marvel connecting the empire. Ever heard the phrase, all roads lead to Rome? Turns out, it's less poetic flair and more ancient city planning flex. The Romans didn't just want to conquer the world, they wanted to pave it too. And naturally, make sure everyone knew exactly how to find their front door. It all kicked off with a gloriously meta idea. Rome would sit at the literal center of the empire's map. Imagine every route on your GPS rerouting through your mom's kitchen whenever you try to go anywhere. That's Roman logistics for you. They laid down over 250,000 miles of stone-paved perfection. That's enough to circle the earth 10 times, or if you're a penguin, just enough to get annoyed and waddle right back home. The ancient GPS? Milestones. Not just Stone Age decor. These guys measured every distance from the golden milestone. Rome's snazzier way of saying, you are here and nowhere else. Each stone was basically a polite but firm reminder to travelers. Still not Rome. Keep going. Roman roads were engineering marvels. Built with precise layers of stone and gravel, these roads ran stubbornly straight, as if Roman surveyors held a lifelong grudge against scenic detours. These weren't meandering poet paths. They were military superhighways, designed for legions to march efficiently, not for aimless gelato stops. Today, fragments of these roads remain, a testament to Rome's enduring GPS signal. Recalculating, please merge onto Via Appia. Sure, not every road led straight to the Colosseum. Some politely kicked visitors toward Mediterranean wine and strategic sunbathing. But there's no denying Rome's civil engineering left its mark, and perhaps a few thoroughly confused travelers along the way. Even with advanced road systems, Roman public hygiene had its shortcomings, leading to pollution and questionable cleanliness. Picture a Roman lounging in a bathhouse, oily, sweaty, yet somehow still cleaner than Chad from your local gym. Toss out your assumptions. Despite Hollywood's best efforts, these weren't germ-infested swamp parties where hygiene went to die. The popular myth paints Roman baths as unsanitary germ bazaars, but that's about as likely as expecting a toga party to come with complimentary Lysol wipes. Let's set the record straight. Romans were cleaning fanatics. They invented public toilets, had piping hot water on demand, and plumbing so advanced a modern plumber would weep with envy. Their bathing ritual wasn't just a lazy splash. First, you'd undress, cue strategic towel holding, get a quick workout in the exercise yard, then sweat it out in the caldarium, the steamy room where you basically become a human dumpling. After a brisk swim, it's time for everyone's favorite, the strigil, a curved metal scraper. Forget loofahs. In Rome, personal space wasn't sacred when a pal armed with steel and zero shame arrived. Roman exfoliation meant dirt and dignity both took a hike. And just to keep it lively, you might find yourself chatting up a senator plotting his next scandal, or a philosopher philosophizing on the nature of bubbles. Yes, these baths were social hotspots, the world's first spa day, complete with awkward nude networking. You're thinking, wasn't it just one big perpetual soup? Not quite! The water was regularly refreshed, and brilliant engineering kept it flowing steady. Soap! Rare, reserved for the truly posh, but olive oil and expert scraping did the trick. Was it Purell level sterile? Nope! But for its time, Roman sparkle was the gold standard. And honestly, if Roman baths were radioactive germ zones, how did toga parties survive without a hazmat crew?